Okay, ready? I can't see you, so I hope all of you are standing. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Okay, some with the virtual background, I see like jumping up and down. That's pretty cool. Okay, 10 more seconds. Do turn on your cameras, guys. Okay, you guys are doing really well. Let's go for 1 more whole minute, okay? 20 seconds left. 10 seconds left. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, stop. Good job, guys. Yeah, I can't believe actually all of you, some of you ran really fast. I think I saw Eva really going fast. Okay. Okay, so this is just something that I do as well while working. And I realized that sometimes I just sit in one place for too long. And then what I do is that instead of waiting till the end of the day when I'm fully done with work to do some sort of physical activity when I'm really, really, really tired, whenever I'm like in between meetings or anything, I just take some time to run in one place or do some sort of physical activity, whether it's just helping my mom just go and throw the garbage outside or something, just so that I get moving. So this is something you can do as well. Okay, before I pass the time and introduce Eva, I just want to also introduce you to Jackie, who's here with us. He's also part of the Leaderonomics team, okay? He's our learning and growth partner. He has his camera off. Jackie, if you can turn on your mic and say hi. Okay, don't think he's there, but basically he's our learning and growth partner. Oh, he's there. Hey.
What up, what up?
Okay, yeah, so this is Jackie, and he's also a lover of puns. So if you're thinking of saying something or writing something on social media, I think you can reach out to him. Okay, maybe not. Okay, that was your brother, right?
Yeah, that's my brother. You know which brother?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pass the time to Eva. Just briefly introduce her. I know you've already met her. Some of you, should be most of you if you watched the video as well. But basically, Eva, as she introduced herself, was it yesterday? I think 2 days ago. 2 days ago. She's been with Leaderonomics for a very, very long time. Yeah, she's part of the furniture in Leaderonomics.
Thanks.
And
thanks.
Yes, so she was previously in the R&D department, and then she actually, if you go through the backstory of Leaderonomics Digital, Eva is the one that actually started it up. And then after that, she's like now back in Leaderonomics Digital with Budaya, which is going to share with you a little bit more today. Okay, so Eva, I pass the time to you.
All right. Thanks, Shasi. How's everyone doing?
Great.
You're great.
Great.
Good. All right. So again, I have some slides to walk you guys through. So feel free to jump in and ask any questions that you may have along the way. Today, we're going to be talking about Budaya, which is basically our employee engagement solution from the Leaderonomics Digital team. So basically, Leaderonomics overall, we focus on leadership development, the learning aspect of things. How do we help individuals grow into better leaders? How do we help companies have the right kind of structures in place so that they can support growth for their organization? And we realized that engagement is one of those aspects that actually is very related to all this. And it really drives your passion, your productivity, your commitment to the organization, and how you grow in the organization as well. And so we recently decided to add on a tool, a digital tool, a digital technology and a service around it that actually allows us to provide engagement, employee engagement related initiatives to organizations that we are working with. Does it make sense so far before I move on to the slides?
Yeah, thumbs up from Jackie.
Okay, Jackie should know.
Oh, Dia also gives a thumbs up.
Okay, cool. So if anything, just interrupt, please, as I'm moving on to the slides. So we call our employee engagement solution Budaya, and we recently just launched the website for it. So if you go to budaya.app, you will actually find a bit more information about it, and that's the public website that we have a lot of information about what Budaya actually covers. So do check it out if you feel like it, or if you want to know a little bit more. If you have any comments, also share any comments with me as well, because we just launched it, so it's a new website, and we're going through the process of improving and all that as well. And essentially, when we're talking about Budaya, we are talking about coming from a technology perspective, since we're sitting with the digital team, and looking at, how do we provide the technology enabler for organizations so that they have something in place that can help them with all the different employee engagement initiatives that they are doing. So I'm just going to skip those kind of things. Just a small note to say that in Leaderonomics overall, I think, but mostly on the digital side, I think it would actually cover overall though. We are basically looking, if you know anything about HR or people working in an organization, there's what we call an employee life cycle, which means the different stages that employees go through when they're in a company. So we are talking about attraction. How do you get them in the company in the first place? We are talking about onboarding them, developing them, engaging them, managing them. And then the last one is basically transition. So transition usually out of the organization. So Leaderonomics, we usually focus on the areas that are not grayed out. So we usually focus on areas like onboarding, developing, engage, and managing. We don't do much on the attraction side, perhaps a little bit of assessments, but usually the assessments we do are quite intricate. So we do them more for other reasons like succession planning, promotions, and all those kind of things, not so much for attraction. And we don't do much on the exit side of things. How do you transition employees? So just a note that you might want to remember. Leaderonomics Digital overall, we have 4 different technology solutions that we are providing and we're going out. Budaya is one of them, and it's the engagement one, the last one that we're going to be talking about today. We also have Leaderonomics Academy, which is an LMS system, a learning management system. Necole, that you may be a little bit familiar since you have access and you're, I believe, already accessing. This is basically, in a way, similar to LMS. It's where you actually go and find a lot of information that you can actually learn and use for your growth. You can share information there as well. And then there's Mental Cloud as well, which you will also have access to. And it's basically a place where you can actually find like-minded individuals that you can actually connect to and build a mentoring relationship. So all these different solutions are solutions that we take to market. Nigesh and team are primarily working on Necole, myself mostly on Budaya. Leaderonomics Academy, Mental Cloud is basically shared across. Majority of it is with Sashi, Adeline, Vivian, a little bit on Mental Cloud. But there's a few of us that are looking into different areas of all these. So if we focus more on the engagement side right now, since we are here for that, essentially the reason that we're looking for employee engagement and how do we deal with it is that we found that there's a lot of hidden costs for organizations when we're looking at disengaged employees. So disengaged employees really means they're no longer that committed to the organization and to the vision of the organization. So typically, how does that look like? They don't really want to bother much. They don't really care. They just do a kind of a half-baked kind of job just for the sake of doing something and just getting on with their life. They're not really that interested in the overall benefit of the organization. So disengagement, the cost of it comes in the form of having lower productivity overall in the organization because people are not performing to their best abilities. Then you have turnovers that are very high. So meaning a lot of people are leaving the organization and the organization is actually left with the cost of filling the gap of that employee, training someone else for the position, hiring, waiting for them to come up to speed. So the cost is actually quite heavy over there. So it's actually estimated that to replace a person, even though you don't fire them, just to replace a person that leaves your organization, it's actually about 6 to 9 months of their salary. So imagine if, let's say that Shasi leaves tomorrow, even though we'll miss him a lot, but the cost for Leaderonomics would also be to, find another Shasi, train them, get them up to speed, and then we probably won't, and then we'll have to, let go of the other person or retrain or take much longer for them to come up to that speed. So those are all the additional costs that you may not really calculate as your cost because it's not the salary only that you're paying, but it's additional costs, all the lost productivity during that time, all the videos and podcasts and these kind of sessions that could have been created, but they were not created, right? So there's a lot over there that needs to be taken into account for calculating the costs. Also for managers to help people in their teams to stay engaged. It's actually not an easy thing to do because don't forget that the majority of people, they are actually promoted to people managers because they are very good individual contributors to begin with. So what that means is that they're usually really good at doing their job on their own, and their boss says, why not I promote you and make you a team leader, but they don't necessarily have the abilities to actually help the rest of the team do well as well. It's a different set of skills that you require to, not just do the work yourself, but also drive others to do the work. So without actually helping these managers, it's very hard for them to perform at the level that is expected and really bring in the team productivity high as well. So I'm spending a lot of time in this just because usually when we speak to the clients, we don't really need to spend so much time on this particular slide. We just mention it in passing and go. But it's also because I'm not really aware how familiar you all are with the working environment. So I just want to make sure that you guys get it before we move on to the rest. So let me know if you're getting it or if it's too detailed or too heavy for you.
Okay, we got all clear and all good so far.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that's when Budaya comes in. The idea is, how do we help the organizations that we are talking to create a consistent, systematic experience that will allow their employees to stay engaged in the organization? And to do that, essentially what we are saying is that you really need to have a consistent process in place that allows you to do that. If you do it once in a while, if you have like a company dinner, once a year, and you have an engagement survey once a year asking them how they feel about working there, it's not really consistent enough to actually keep the engagement high. But what's important is for us to be able to have something in place that allows communication to happen on a daily basis, checking with people, see how they're feeling, and adjust accordingly as an organization your approach so that you make sure that they stay engaged throughout the year. Okay, so basically what we want to do is go to organizations that are looking at overall employee engagement. So that means that they don't have specific issues that they are facing as an organization. They are just looking at having a system for employee engagement overall, and they obviously if they're willing to spend money for this, they place quite a big importance on their employees staying engaged, staying happy, staying passionate about working in the organization. So how do we help these people have that system in place, that infrastructure in place, which is the first thing that we do, which is Budaya Engage. We call it Budaya Engage, which is our basic package. Or for specific organizations, they might actually be looking at specific, we call it cultural needs that they are looking to solve. So for example, they may have things like, especially in the past year, with everyone working from everywhere and not being able to see people and all that, how do they help their managers, for example, be better people managers? How do they help their managers have better conversations, build a deeper relationship with their people? And this slide over here basically gives you the 5 different packages that are more specific and more targeted to specific needs that they may have. So one is for helping managers, the first one. How do we help their managers be better people managers? Another one is, how do we nurture a culture of curiosity and love of learning in an organization? So this one came because there are a lot of organizations out there, especially the ones that are very much focused towards innovation, that they usually sort of complain that, their people are not curious enough, they're not interested enough to find out new ways of doing things. So that kind of, keeps them back in terms of, innovating and coming up with new ideas. So how do we help them in that? Another one, especially for this year, is Budaya well-being. So how do we help organizations help their people in terms of their well-being? So how do they prioritize it? How do they help them, bring up their awareness, but also hold their hands along the way so that they bring their well-being levels higher as well? Then there's Budaya culture, which is for those organizations that are going through a significant change in their culture. So usually culture for organizations, we're talking about things like their vision, their mission, their values, their core values that they have, any core beliefs that they have. Anyone knows Leaderonomics vision? Pop quiz. No, really?
We tested this a few days ago, or was it yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday. I think it was our values. I'm not sure they've been tested on our vision yet.
Haha. Okay, you guys better go and learn our values, our mission, our vision, and our cultural beliefs as well. So anyway, like when companies they may have something in place and they might decide at some point that they need to change it for some particular reason. So that's when they go through usually it's a consultation program that they go through with an external consultant, or sometimes they just do it on their own internally. But usually they come up with these new vision, mission, values for the organization. But at the end of the day, what does that mean? Like, how does that relate to the people that are working on the floor? Like, it should really be reflected in everyone's behavior across the organization. So how do you help them to sort of socialize those ideas so that everyone is kind of internalizing them and utilizing them on a daily basis and lives those new values? So this is what we are talking about here. How do we help them, not in terms of drafting the new values or the new mission, but in terms of getting everyone in the organization to adopt it? So how do we tell them, a lot of organizations have things like integrity as their core value. What does that mean? It can mean different things to different people. So what does it mean for our organization? What does that look like? Give me examples, give me practical examples of how it looks like in my interactions with my manager, with my team member, with my customers. So you need to let them understand what it is that you mean. And you also need to let them know that, this is serious. This is something that we care about, and we're not going to tolerate it if you go against it, because it's our values. It's our core value, right? So how do we help them understand all that? Another change that they may be going through is usually a change of a CEO. And especially in bigger companies, usually they have changes of CEOs, especially for companies that don't have a lot of those changes. And it's not very common. Usually a change of a CEO comes with a lot of additional mini changes that come, mini or bigger changes that come along the way as well. So how do we help them make sense of it? How do we help them with communications? How do we help them with understanding what the new status quo is going to be going forward and all that? So essentially, that's what we're looking at here with the Budaya culture package. And the last one is Budaya Connect. So Budaya Connect is more about helping organizations to have transparency. And by transparency, we mean open communication, very clear statements that essentially tell you the things as they are, not really hiding things, but also being open to giving and receiving feedback for everyone in the organization as well. So how do we cultivate that mindset of, you know, being open? And a lot of companies, especially here in the West, they may be struggling with that because it's not in the nature of the people, and perhaps it wasn't really in the nature of the organization in the past as well, to be very open, to be very blunt, very outspoken. So how do we help them to achieve that if that's what they're looking for? So as you can see, these are you know, very specific topics that we are trying to solve. And the way that it works is that we are looking at a limited period of time that we're going to be working with the companies in order to do that. So we're looking at 3 to 6 months, maybe 9 months, depending on what exactly the company is looking to achieve. But the idea is that we still use our base infrastructure, the technology tool that we have as the base. However, we built additional elements on top of it that are going to help everyone in the organization understand how those go. So just to share very briefly, Budaya Engage is the most basic package, and this one we usually sell as a take it for a whole year for your people. It's a subscription-based model. Take it for a whole year, and essentially is a way for you to see how your people are feeling at different times through the year. So we use Happiy as our base technology, and later we'll show you a video on what Happiy is, which is the tool. I believe there are a couple of projects around it, around Budaya and Happiy together. So some of you may be involved later on, and we can have a deeper conversation then. But yeah, essentially we're using this engagement tool, technology tool. And on top of that, we are also offering things like, you know, some sessions, like training sessions for their people or groups of people. We are also offering things like guides and references for their people, whether it's the users overall, the managers, or the administration, the management of the company, so that they can make the most of the information that they see. So the idea for this is that Happiy, and you can see it's very like colorful and like game-like, but the idea is that it measures 11 different dimensions of work life through a variety of different things that it does in the system, and you can see later in the video as well. But essentially, these are all the different dimensions that it measures. And it does that by a variety of ways. It gives, basically every day you have to answer questions. You get reports, managers get reports for their teams, how their team is doing at any given day. So they get daily reports, they get weekly reports as well. In the future, they'll be getting monthly reports as well to see overall how their teams specifically are doing. People get timely nudges. So this one is on specific dimensions that they're struggling with. They may get a message that might be helpful for them. Just a thought, like a thought of the day kind of thing, like a short either message or a code or something that might help them along the way if they're really struggling with something. And overall, the user experience is in a way that it doesn't become too you know, draggy and tiresome and, you know, yet another corporate app that they have to deal with. Because, you know, in the corporate world, people have like a bunch, whole list of like corporate systems that they have to navigate through on a daily basis. So it gets a bit tiring after a while. So the idea here is that, you know, people have good days and people have bad days at work and in their personal lives as well. And there's no way to stop that. Everyone will have the bad days, everyone will have the good days. But the question is, how do you make sure that you catch the bad days early? And, you know, as a manager or as the organization, you can actually do something to correct it early on. So if you see that something, a particular dimension seems to be an issue for a prolonged period of time for one of your team members, what is it that you can do as a manager or as the management to actually help them with that? So for example, if I see that, let's say that Shasi is in my team, I keep picking on you, Shasi, but let's say that you're in my team, right? And I see every day, I don't see by name, by the way, but if I have like 2 or 3 people in my team, I would know who is who in the end. But you know, like if I see that you know, people in my team don't receive recognition for you know 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, and as a manager, I don't do anything about it, then it's on me at the end of the day. If tomorrow he tells me, you know what, I give up, I'm out of here, no one really cares about me here, you know, no one really wants to tell me, you know, what a good job I'm doing and all that. And of course, it's not just one dimension that is going to make someone leave, but I think you get what I mean. It's basically a combination of everything, but essentially, how do we catch these early and actually do something to correct it when there's still time, before, you know, they make decisions to move on and go find another job in a different company. So that's the whole idea over here. There's some information in here about all the different packages. And these are very new slides that we just put together. I'm just going to leave it here because the rest of the slides are basically just going through the features of Happiy. I was hoping, Shasi, maybe we can show the video of Happiy. I think that would be a lot easier than going through the slides. But before that, are you guys all right? Do you get it?
Can I ask about the product Budaya?
Yeah, sure.
If one subscribe the Budaya application, is there any limitation for how many employees that could access the Budaya app?
Okay, so good question. So to clarify, this one is sold to companies for their people. So usually you need a group. As an individual, you cannot just access Budaya on its own because you need to belong in a group, right? So the app is actually Happiy, not Budaya. But either way, you need a company to be you know, within Happiy. There's no limit, but the way that we are selling it is it's a subscription model. So essentially, organizations will have to pay a per user price every month, and then they can have as many people as they want. So as long as they are willing to cover the cost, essentially, and the cost will reduce as many more people they are adding, the higher the number of people. But essentially, you do need a substantial number of people in order for it to make sense. Also important to note here, I think that, you know, for very small companies, it might not be a logical thing to do. Also because of the cost, there's a minimum cost that you need to pay per month for up to a certain number of people. And also, if you have a very small team, you're very likely to know them relatively well. You might not really need an app like Happiy to actually help you with that. Generally speaking, the smaller teams, they are a lot more connected with each other. Again, depending on the culture, unless you're not a very, you know, old school, you know, strict, just do your job and, you know, keep quiet kind of place. But yeah, generally speaking, smaller places probably won't benefit as much. So we're looking at, you know, at least 50 people and above for it to make sense price-wise as well for organizations.
Okay, Nora, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. So Eva, I want to ask a question. So you stated that it's better to detect negativity on the organizations early, right? And
can you guys hear Nora? Nora, you are muted.
Oh.
okay, so let me repeat.
You're muted
Okay,
again.
so you stated earlier that it's better to detect negativity earlier from somebody in your organizations or in your company, right? What I would like to ask is that I have experience in my organizations that somehow one of the member from this organization is having, you know, personal problems, and suddenly she's gone, like detaching herself from these organizations, etc. And then but when we try to approach her, like it's kind of hard. I mean, moreover, believe in this in Corona, we only communicate each other with phones, right? And so what I really want to ask is that how do you manage to help your friends from their whenever they had bad days, so whatever happens to them do not really affecting to the organizations? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. It's not possible to help them in every single aspect of their life, right? So at the end of the day, personal issues you can't really help. But what the Happiy app does at the very least, it's indicate to the manager that to the manager and also the organization that, look, there are people in your team that are struggling. They're not feeling very happy. they're not in a good mood, and there are some subjective questions that you'll notice later in the video as well, that those are going directly to communicate with your manager. So hopefully some conversations will happen there. The idea is to ask those questions and sort of dig a little bit deeper, so it becomes like an assistive method for the manager to have like different topics to talk about and dig a little bit deeper. So the idea is that we also try to guide the managers, how do you respond to these questions? Yes, the system is asking all these questions, but if I get a morning response that oh, I'm really struggling with this project that I'm working on at the moment, and then all I say is like, you're doing good, don't worry, keep going, kind of thing, it's not really helping the person in my team, right? So how do we help the managers know exactly what to say and how to dig a little bit deeper to really help the other person and try to get them to understand both sides, to understand what is really the issue and how they can each help each other out. So you might not be able to catch everything, but it would give you a lot of points to know whether a person is doing well overall or not. So at least you have all the touch points there. Perhaps you might understand a little bit better when we watch the video. So Shasi, on to you.
Okay, thank you, Eva.
No worries.
All right, let me share my screen. So not sure whether that helped, but essentially through the app, through Happiy, you can basically do a few different things. So it tracks on a daily basis through multiple choice questions, and also through open-ended questions that are going to your manager, and your basically your manager is able to respond on the spot or later in the day when they see it, but they can actually send you a response straight away, and you can get it on your phone as a notification as well. And what it does on the back end, the AI is aggregating all these different responses anonymously and presents it to usually the HR of the organization or whoever is the administrator for the organization. And they can basically see by team what the different trends are in terms of all the different dimensions, because all the questions that are asked, they are tied to one of the 11 dimensions that we mentioned earlier. So it basically tells you that, okay, this team is struggling with recognition, but they're doing very well in terms of
I don't know, like ambassadorship, for example. So depending on where the teams are struggling with, and they may be struggling throughout, like all the different dimensions. But then as a manager, you can basically see for your specific teams where the issues are, where the red dots are. So for the reports, we follow traffic light system. So red means look out, something is happening over here. Green means that your team is doing well. In that area. Yellow is, somewhere in the middle. So the idea is that if you have a lot of reds over a protracted period of time, you basically need to do something about it. And usually we're looking at 2 weeks. So the system will actually send the manager a challenge if a particular dimension seems to be problematic for their team over 2 weeks. So let's say that your team is struggling with recognition specifically for more than 2 weeks in a row. The system will actually send you a challenge on your phone that says you need to do better in terms of recognition. These are some ideas on what you can do. Accept the challenge. And then if the ratings, I suppose, improve in the coming week from your teams and you're not red anymore, the system will actually give you coins. By the way, like all the activities that you do on the app, you basically receive coins. You collect coins, and then you can actually redeem it for rewards. Not sure whether you caught that from the video. Yeah, I think in a nutshell, that's essentially the gist of it. The idea is, how do we give all these meaningful insights to the organizations, and then how do we help them to actually use it? Because I mean, it's one thing for it to be sitting on a dashboard somewhere, but it's a completely different thing, them actually, taking action and doing something about it. Not every day, not every week for sure, but maybe, every month they check in to see how it's going. You can't keep checking every day, otherwise you go completely insane. But yeah, like how do we help everyone, and how do we help the users utilize the information that they're receiving, whether it's through their feedback that they're getting from peers or through the recognition that they're getting from other colleagues for the stuff that they're doing well, or if they see other people getting medals and coins for specific things that they do, they should get a hint, like, okay, this is what is expected in this place of me to do. So what can I do in my space to be there as well? And through their conversations with their managers as well, through the houses, there's a bunch of different elements to it. I think we can share the video with everyone, Chassis, to go through it in more detail. I can also share some slides so that you guys can have like all the different aspects of it if you feel like going through it. But if anyone is interested to find out more, and for those that are going to be on the projects, we'll definitely have to go a little bit deeper than this for sure. But just let me know and we can cover it all in more detail at some point.
Me, I actually have a question, Eva.
Yeah, sure.
So far, is there any specific industry targeted by Leaderonomics to become a client in Happiy?
No. However, we do think that it's more suited for white-collar work, simply because we do have a language issue, not really an issue, but it's a language issue at the moment that it's only in Greek, not in Greek, what am I saying? It's only in English and it's also in Thai. Because the app is actually from Thailand, so the app is also available in Thai. But essentially, we're looking at it only being in English and Thai. So if language is an issue, then it wouldn't really be appropriate. Yeah,
I understand it.
So that's why we focus more on the white collar. Also because people will be more inclined to, use their phones for a variety of different, things that they do on their phones. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Eva.
No worries.
Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions for Eva?
I would like to ask a question, Eva.
Sure. Go ahead.
Actually, my question is actually pretty similar to Rido's previous question, but is there a specific pattern of like what kind of industry or companies that usually subscribe to Budaya services? Because I was wondering about like what kind of companies that would invest their money for, employee engagement. Thank you.
Yeah. Look, here in Malaysia, we're basically only now starting to really take it to the market seriously. So we are fairly new. However, the team in Thailand that are basically the creators of Happiy, they've been basically selling it for more than 5-6 years at the moment. And they do have companies from a variety of different industries. So they have like FMCGs, all the way down to laundry distributors and all that. So it really differs. The question is, who would actually place enough importance and who would benefit from the value of what you get out of it? And that's why we think that usually probably companies that have a lot of people, so it's harder for them to keep track of everyone at the same time. And also teams that they probably have bigger teams. So like each manager would have a few different people reporting to them. So meaning like, 5 or 10 people per manager or even more, because then it becomes easier for the manager to keep track of everyone through the app instead of, checking with them daily, individually as well. So that's how we see it at the moment. We did get some feedback that perhaps for manufacturing kind of companies, it might be a little bit hard to work on the factory floors. Also because of people not really having their smartphones with them, during their shifts and all that. However, we probably need to find a way to work around that, because what we are essentially saying is that you don't end up spending a lot of time on the app. Actually, you're spending literally less than a minute in the morning to answer the questions, and then if you do get notifications during the day, you can always just view them later. So it's not something that you have to be on your phone at any given time just to see what's going on over there. So that's something that we probably need to figure out a way to overcome somehow. Does that answer, Angie?
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the questions that you have. I think we're at time now. So if you have any other questions for Eva, you can also send her an email, or you can connect with her in the group chat on WhatsApp. So I just want to thank Eva once again. Thank you so much for spending your time with us.
No
Enjoyed
worries.
it today. We hope to see you for more sessions.
Just as long as you're not bored of me, just let me know.
Okay, just dropping a reminder as well. Remember that you can also connect with each other if you're just say you want to find out something. Okay, how have you chosen your project, or what project you're doing? Talk to each other in the group. Find out what everyone else is doing as well. So you're just not like alone doing it in the dark. Get everyone involved, talk and discuss about things. And one more reminder for your coaches and mentor form. If you have not filled it up yet, please do as soon as possible. I'm not sure when's the due date. I think it's end of today.
Supposedly today at 12 p.m., but it's past it. So I guess end of the day.
Okay, yes. Just don't leave it to the end of the day. Get it done as soon as possible so that you can focus on other things. And for your ABA test also, for those of you who have not done it yet, please do it as soon as possible. That it ends in less than 12 hours, the due date for your ABA test. Try to find time to also do some movement so you don't sit the whole day and actually exercising and moving around, okay? Even if it means just going to the fridge and opening it a few times, okay? Just get up your chair and do that. That'll be helpful. You can also share, if you want to record a video of what you're doing and what you're actually doing at home, because we can't really see each other, how each other work. You can even record it and you can share it with us if you want. If you don't want, you can just keep it for yourself, or you can share it on your own social platforms. All right, so that's all for this session. We'll see you again later today. For some, it'll be late evening. Some, it will be early morning. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.